no matter the setbacks as well. So I think mental health, just being okay with things are going to come, like whatever pursuit you're chasing, that end goal, it's not about actually the end outcome. It's about who you're growing into daily, and turning that mess into a message as well.
Turning the mess into a message, and you talked about being okay with not being okay. And I remember in college, one of the seniors at the time, I was a freshman, he said these words that stuck with me forever. He said, fall in love with the process and you'll always get the results. And oftentimes we look at the results and we miss the very thing of becoming, like you said, who you're becoming as a result of the process, and having a strong faith and fixed mindsets versus growth mindset. And when we think about teaching to change lives, so how do we as educators cultivate a culture of growth mindset? Because if you look at the brain, we're constantly in survival, and we're no longer in cave times, but most people live in the survival mindset versus a thriving mindset. So Lenita, how do we create a culture where growth mindsets are cultivated and celebrated?
Yeah, I love this. I always think about our classrooms or our coaching sessions or our movement. It will never outgrow you. It will never outgrow the leader that's actually facilitating the session. So it's a matter of, first and foremost, leading with the right beliefs, and everything stems from your thoughts and your beliefs. So if things aren't going right in the classroom that you're facilitating or the session that you're leading, we need to think about, what beliefs am I attaching to this scenario right now? So if we were to get super specific, it's a matter of understanding our beliefs and our identity as the educator, and then bringing that into the classroom or the session by facilitating human-to-human conversations as often as you can. And once again, this is why I got into trouble back when I was an educator, because I placed conversations first before I opened the book to teach the content. And I always tell my students and my teenagers, when you want to study success or you want to study successful people, don't study their habits, study their beliefs, because everything else is stemming from the beliefs. So when I have conversations with teenagers, I'm embedding that belief in them without them even knowing that. Subconsciously, they're taking on those beliefs from me. So that's why, as educators, if we want to set that culture in stone, we need to be heavily investing in our own identity and mindset, and then pouring that into the teenagers through the art of conversations.
Oh my goodness, this is so good. Like, I'm so jacked. Like, I've been doing this series for some time now, and I've done a few interviews, and what you're saying is so different than anything I've heard so far. And it's a great reminder. You said, I quote, understanding our beliefs before we get into that, understanding our identity. And oftentimes when we think about teaching to change lives, and corporate has taught us, here's some strategies, here's some techniques, here's some habits that you can exercise. But you're saying we lead from the place in which we are, not the place that we want to be. And if we're to create a growth culture, a growth mindset culture, we have to understand our identity. Like, and for me, I'm like, okay, that word identity is used a lot. So if you had to describe identity and understanding oneself identity, what does identity mean?
For me, it's the core, right? Like your morals and your values. Really understanding what do you truly care about, and how can you then align your actions or your decisions with your core. And often they get mistaken. Like there's always that concern or that challenge when things aren't in alignment. So I knew myself as the educator that things weren't in alignment. I was teaching in classrooms, but they weren't matching my values. Hence why I had to step out. So I had to disconnect to reconnect. So I think the identity stems from your values, what you truly care about, and that DNA that's within you, that's in your blood. Like Teen Coach Academy or teen coaching, it's a way of life. It's in my DNA, it's in my blood. And people, you would feel it. You want to enroll them into your identity as well until they find their own.
Yeah.
So yeah, coming back to just the core values and what you truly care about. And I think when you do that, you're encouraging teenagers to also step into that, and empowering them to question things that don't align with their values, and celebrate them once again when they do, instead of telling them, oh, don't say that, or don't question me, or, you know, why, miss, are you saying that? And then respond, oh, because I said so.
Yeah.
You really want to empower them and actually celebrate them for challenging you. And that's what I do as well. They challenge me so much because I welcome the challenges, but they learn a lot about themselves too.
So our identity is based around our core values. Our core values shape our identity, and our identity is it is connected to our beliefs, and then welcoming the challenge as an opportunity of leadership and education. But you're talking about not condemning a child or a teenager when they ask questions, or even challenge, but celebrating the fact that they're asking questions and challenging the status quo, because through criticism, and the word criticism means to assess, to judge the validity of things, versus we look at criticism like, oh, this is an attack. But you're talking about a paradigm shift. Like, so when you think of teaching to change lives, Lenita, like, what comes to mind for you?
When it comes to teaching, often the best answers are having the right questions. And it's actually understanding that you don't always have to have the right thing to say to lead these teenagers to a breakthrough. So whether you're a parent, a coach, a teacher, you always want to be questioning them to help them understand, how did they come to that decision themselves? So a great example is when a teenager gets in trouble. And we always, you know, in the beginning, the first thing that might come to mind is, why did you do that? You would question them, why did you do that? And the question frame of a why, it carries a lot of judgment. You're blaming them already without understanding their decision-making process. So instead of saying why, you would ask them, for example, what contributed to you making that decision? Or how did you come to that solution? And that's how we really instill the decision-making skills in teenagers, and really enhancing that emotional intelligence, because we're challenging them to think about, how did they actually come to that solution? And then that's how we start really enhancing just their mindset and their perspective as well. And yeah, at the end of the day, just really staying away from the why frame, because they might have just had the right heart and intention to do that thing. They got it wrong along the way, and that's okay. But just stay away from trying to just blame them with that why frame.
So teaching to change life, and I'm extracting from what you said, teaching to change life essentially means having emotional intelligence, asking the right questions, and practicing language that is not offensive or condemning. And the start of, why did you do this, versus where is this coming from, what's going on, opens doors versus closes doors. That is so damn powerful. Lenita, like, so our listeners are probably like, oh my goodness, I love her, she's so nice. And if they want to get in contact with you, like, what are some ways that our listeners can get in contact with you?
Of course, a couple of ways. teencoachacademy.com. That's where they can find us on the website. And then what I really love is our free Facebook group, our community called Thriving Teen Coaches. And we have, over 1,000 people right now in that too. So we have educators, parents, coaches, adults and leaders who are passionate about working with teenagers. We hang out there on the daily in our free Facebook group.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Educator, speaker, teen coach, trainer, entrepreneur, just an all-around human being. Lenita, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, David. It's been so much fun. I appreciate you for having me as well.
Awesome. And I want you to remember something. Be the solution to the education evolution.
Shepherd, 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 shepherd revolution. Shepherd, 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 shepherd revolution.
Hey, it's David Prosper, and welcome to the Shepherd Revolution podcast, a show for educators, parents, and those out-of-the-box shepherd leaders doing education differently. I want to say thank you for leading the education evolution. We are bringing practical strategies, systems, and solutions to help you thrive as a revolutionary shepherd.
Shepherd, shepherd.